Well, hello. Welcome to Reading the Bible Through in a Year. And this is Monday, and it's December the 5th, and we're starting on day 339. And we're just beginning the book of Daniel. And Daniel is a prophetic book that's often quoted, and a lot of the references in it are actually quoted or referred to or bounced out with the book of Revelation. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day of love and this day of healing. This day of a new beginning of another book in the Bible, another prophetic book by the prophet Daniel, who's so often quoted. We thank you, Lord, for prophecy and warning, where you give men the courage to speak of your judgment and your love and your anger. Go, Daniel chapter 1. We're going to read chapter 1 and chapter 2. And then we're going to turn to the New Testament and read 1 John chapter 4. The choice young men. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, along with some of the vessels of the house of God, and he brought them to the land of Shinar, and to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasury of his God. Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, the chief of his officials, to bring in some of the sons of Israel, including some of the royal family and of the nobles, youths in whom was no defect, who were good-looking, showing intelligence in every branch of wisdom, endowed with understanding and discerning knowledge, and who had ability to serving the king's court. And he ordered him to teach them the literature and the language of the Chaldeans. We hear a lot about the Chaldeans in the prophetic writings, don't we? And the king appointed for them a daily ration from the king's choice food and from the wine which he drank, and appointed that they should be educated 3 years, at the end of which they were to enter the king's personal service. Now among them from the sons of Judah were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Then the commander of the officials assigned new names to them, and to Daniel he assigned the name Belteshazzar, and to Hananiah Shadrach, and to Mishael, I would pronounce it almost like Michelle, Meshach, and to Azariah Abednego. Daniel resolved. But Daniel made up his mind that he would not defile himself with the king's choice food. It's funny how he just resolved that. I wonder what he ate before he came here. I wonder if he was already on this kind of diet. Or with the wine which he drank. So he sought permission from the commander of the officials that he might not defile himself. Now God granted Daniel favor and compassion in the sight of the commander of the officials. And the commander of the officials said to Daniel, I am afraid of my lord that the king, who has appointed your food and your drink, for why should he see your faces looking more haggard than the youths who are of your age, and then you would make me forfeit my head to the king. But Daniel said to the overseer, whom the commander of the officials had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your strength for 10 days, and let us be given some vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our appearance be observed in our presence, and the appearance of the youth who are eating the king's choice food, and deal with your servant according to what you see. So he listened to them. The matter then tested them for 10 days. I wonder if we ate just vegetables for 10 days and water, if our appearance would be healthier and we'd be smarter. No fruit, just vegetables. At the end of the 10 days, their appearance seemed better, and they were fatter than all the youths who had been eating the king's choice food. So the overseer continued to withhold their choice food and the wine that they were to drink, and kept giving them vegetables. And as for these four youth, God gave them knowledge and intelligence and every branch of literature and wisdom. Daniel ever understood all kinds of visions and dreams. Then at the end of the days which the king had specified for presenting them, the commander of the officials presented them before Nebuchadnezzar. The king talked with them, and out of them all not one was found like Daniel, Hananiah, and Mishael, and Azariah. So they entered the king's personal service. And as for every matter of wisdom and understanding, about which the king consulted them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and the conjurers who were in his realm. And Daniel continued until the first year of Cyrus the king. The King's Forgotten Dream, Chapter 2. I think we've all heard this story, or most of us have anyway. Okay, now, in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams, and his spirit was troubled, and he was left him. Then the king gave orders to call the magicians, the conjurers, and the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans, to tell the king his dreams. So they came in and stood before the king. And the king said to them, I had a dream, and my spirit is anxious to understand the dream. Then the Chaldeans spoke to the king in Aramaic, O king, live forever. Tell the dream to your servants, and we will declare the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, The command for me is firm. If you do not make known to me the dream and its interpretation, you will be torn limb from limb, and your houses will be made a rubbish heap. But if you declare the dream and its interpretation, you will receive from me gifts and a reward and greater honor. Therefore declare to me the dreams in an interpretation. They answered a second time and said, Let the king tell the dream to his servants, and we will declare the interpretation. The king answered and said, I know for certain that you are bargaining for time, inasmuch as you have seen that the command from me is firm, that if you do not make the dream known to me, there is only one decree for you have agreed together to speak lying and corrupt words before me until the situation is changed. Therefore tell me the dream, that I may know that you can declare to me its interpretation. He's pretty smart king, eh? The Chaldeans answered the king and said, There is not a man on earth who could declare the matter for the king, as much as no great king or ruler has ever asked anything like this of any magician, conjurer, or Chaldean. Moreover, the things which the king demands is difficult, and there is no one else who could declare it to the king except God, whose dwelling place is not with mortal flesh. Because of this, the king became indignant and very furious, and he gave orders to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. So the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they looked for Daniel and his friends to kill them. Then Daniel replied with discretion and discernment to Arioch, the captain of the king's bodyguard, who had gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's commander, For what reason is the decree from the king so urgent? Then Arioch informed Daniel about the matter. So Daniel went in and requested of the king that he would give him time, in order that he might decree the interpretation to the king. Then Daniel went to his house and informed his friends Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah about the matter, in order that they might request compassion from the God of heaven concerning this mystery, so that Daniel and his friends might not be destroyed with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Now see, we know that God had a plan, and that's why Daniel was there, but Daniel didn't know that. So he was afraid for his life. And God was working his plan here. How often do we have hit a wall or run into a valley and say, Oh God, where are you? And meanwhile, it's all part of God's plan for our life and our walk. The secret is revealed to Daniel. Verse 19. And the mystery was revealed to Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered and said, Let the name of God be blessed forever and ever, for wisdom and power belong to him. And it is he who changes the times and the epochs. He removes kings and establishes kings. He gives wisdom to wise men and knowledge to men of understanding. It is he who reveals the profound and hidden things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light dwells with him. To thee, O God of my fathers, I give thanks and praise, for thou hast given me wisdom and power. Even now thou hast made known to me what we requested of thee, for thou hast made known to us the king's matter. Therefore Daniel went in to Arioch, whom the king had appointed to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and he spoke to him as follows: Do not destroy the wise men of Babylon. Take me into the king's presence, and I will declare the interpretation to the king. Verse 25, Then Arioch hurriedly brought Daniel into the king's presence, and spoke to him as follows: I have found a man among the exiles from Judah, who can make the interpretation known to the king. The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, Are you able to make known to me the dream which I have seen and its interpretation? Daniel answered before the king and said, As for the mystery about which the king has inquired, neither wise men, conjurers, or magicians, nor diviners are able to declare it to the king. However, there is a God of heaven who reveals mysteries, and he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar, which he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what will take place in the latter days. And this is your dream, and the vision in your mind while on your bed. As for you, O king, while on your bed, your thoughts turn to what would take place in the future, and he who reveals mysteries has made known to you what will take place. But as for me, this mystery has not been revealed to me for any wisdom residing in me, more than in any other living man, but for the purpose of making the interpretation known to the king, and that you may understand the thoughts of your mind. The king's dreams. You, O king, were looking, and behold, there was a single great statue. That statue, which was large and of extraordinary splendor, was standing in front of you, and its appearance was awesome. The head of the statue was made of fine gold, and its breast and its arms of silver, its belly and its thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. You continued looking until a stone was cut out without hands, and it struck the statue on its feet, and of iron and clay, and crushed them. Then the iron and the clay and the bronze and the silver and the gold were crushed, all at the same time, and became like chaff from the summer thrashing floor. And the wind carried them away, so that not a trace of them was found. But the stone that struck the statue became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. The interpretation, Babylon, the first kingdom. This was the dream. Now we shall tell its interpretation before the king. You, O king, are the king of kings, to whom the God of heaven has given the kingdom, the power, the strength, and the glory. And wherever the sons of men dwell, on the beasts of the field or the birds of the sky, he has given them into your hand, and has caused you to rule over them all. You are the head of gold. Medo, Persian, and Greece. And after you there will arise another kingdom inferior to you, then another third kingdom of bronze, which will rule over all the earth. Rome. Then there will be a fourth kingdom, as strong as iron. Inasmuch as iron crushes and shatters all things, so, like iron that breaks in pieces, it will crush and break all things into pieces. And in that you saw the feet, the toes, and partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, it will be a divided kingdom, but it will have in it the toughness, of iron. And inasmuch as you saw the iron mixed with common clay, and as the toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of pottery, so some of the kingdoms will be strong and part of it will be brittle. This is a long chapter. And in that you saw iron mixed with common clay, they will combine with one another in the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another, even as iron does not combine with pottery. So it's like genetics, I guess. The divine kingdom. And in the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom which will never be destroyed, and that kingdom will not be left for another people. It will crush and put to an end all these kingdoms, but it will itself endure forever. Inasmuch as you saw that a stone was cut out of the mountain, which hands and that is crushed, without hand, and that it crushed the iron and the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God has made known to the king what will take place in the future of the dream. So the dream is true, and its interpretation is trustworthy. Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face and did homage to Daniel, and gave orders to present to him an offering and fragrant incense. The king answered Daniel and said, "Surely your God is a God of gods, and a Lord of kings, and ruler of mysteries, since you have been able to reveal this mystery." Then the king promoted Daniel and gave him many great gifts, and he made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, and chief prefector over the wise men of Babylon. And Daniel made a request of the king, and he appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the administration of the provinces of Babylon, while Daniel was in the king's court. And that's the end of our first reading from Daniel to the book of 1 John, and we're going to read chapter 4. Testing the spirits. Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. By this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is from God. And every spirit that does not confess Jesus is not from God. And this is the spirit, the Antichrist, of which you have heard that it is a coming, and now it is already in the world. You are from God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. They are from the world, therefore they speak as from the wicked, and the world listens to them. We are from God. He who knows God listens to us. He who is not from God does not listen to us. By this we know the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. It's like there's two kinds of people, right? Some that can actually hear the voice of God and listen and act kind and loving, and others who just don't respond to that, and never will maybe. God is love. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. The one who does not love does not know God, for God is love. By this, the love of God was manifested in us, that God had sent his only begotten Son into the world, so that we might live through him. And this love, not that we love God, but that he loved us and sent his Son to be propitiation for our sin. Beloved, if God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has beheld God at any time. If we love one another, God abides in us, and his love is perfected in us. By this we know that we abide in him, and he is in us, because he has given us his Spirit. And we have beheld and bear witness that the Father has sent his Son to be the Savior of the world. Whoever confesses that Jesus is the Son of God abides in him, and he in God. And we have come to know and have believed the love which God has for us. God is love, and the one who abides in love abides in God, and God abides in him. By this love is perfected with us, that we may have confidence in the day of judgment, because as he is, so also are we in the world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves punishment, and the one who fears is not perfected in love. We love because he first loved us. If someone says, "I love God," and hates his brother, he's a liar. For the one who does not love his brother whom he has seen cannot love God whom he has not seen. And this commandment we have from him, that the one who loves God should love his brother also. And that's the end of today's reading, and it's a good way to end it. And we talked about that a bit yesterday as well. It's really important. And it doesn't mean you're necessarily your biological brother, but it includes your biological brother.